Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We'll spend a little time with First Lieutenant Blake Tabor of the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Department. Thanks for being with us. A couple of tough incidences that you guys have handled over the weekend. Just a tough crimes. I'm sure it's tough for you guys. Tough
Absolutely.
to hear about these.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you're dealing with juvenile sex related things with children and perpetrators. It's a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, at least you guys got a handle on it, and it looks like hopefully
absolutely
bringing these guys to justice.
Sure. Yeah. So the first incident, both of these kind of culminated on Friday, October 20th. The first one we're going to talk about was an investigation with a Montague suspect that was dealt with by our Special Victims Unit of our agency. His name is David Paul Morton. He's a 43-year-old male. You obviously see him pictured here. This has been sort of an ongoing investigation that our detectives have been dealing with. Ultimately, a juvenile victim under the age of 10 came forward and made some allegations of some sexual misconduct at the hands of Mr. Martin that had been happening for an extended period of time. Our investigators have been looking into this for a while. Of course, anytime we deal with these cases, we want to make sure that we are getting everything absolutely correct. And that's not only for the victim, right, but we want to make sure that we're getting the correct perpetrator in that as well. So ultimately, some evidence was presented by the victim that our detectives was able to substantiate, and we felt very strongly that he was the person responsible for these acts. So ultimately, an interview was conducted with him by our detectives where he admitted to being responsible for the allegations of the victim, which, again, is not very common, but he did that. He was ultimately arrested and brought back to our parish from another jurisdiction where he was incarcerated on some unrelated charges. So he is incarcerated currently at our jail at the Criminal Justice Complex, and he's there on a $42,800 bond. This is an ongoing investigation. Of course, we're not releasing any additional details, but it's a strong possibility that there may be some additional victims related to this suspect. So, the big message is that if anyone has been victimized by this particular suspect or maybe a situation where they've been afraid to come forward, he is in custody now, and we hope that those people will come forward and talk to our detectives.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult when you're talking about people that below the age of 10 years old trying to memories and trying to get evidence. That's got to be a challenging part.
Absolutely. When you think of the dynamic that sort of goes into this, it's difficult for adults of our age to be able to comprehend and deal with this, much less someone that doesn't have the mental or even physical magnitude to be able to, work through their feelings and figure out exactly what is going on and what is right versus what is wrong. So a lot of these cases take a while to sort of culminate, which is why we take our due diligence and we make sure that we're doing things the right way.
Yeah, or what is normal and what is not normal, right?
Absolutely.
And you see it happen a lot of times with child victims, and obviously it can really lead to different kind of abuse as the victim gets older.
Absolutely.
When you have to live life dealing with that kind of stuff. The second one happened to be a man in Nebraska. You guys had to travel up there and get a warrant.
This one was pretty interesting. It's not out of the realm of possibilities for us to travel out of state and get perpetrators that belong here and belong in custody. But this one was a case, again, it also had been being investigated for a period of time. Back in May of 23, this complaint sort of surfaced. The gentleman by the name of Andrew Walton Moore, he's a 34-year-old. He was currently living in North Platte, Nebraska. You see him photographed here. We were able to determine through investigation that a parent of an 11-year-old victim came forward and, again, made some allegations of sexual misconduct at the hands of Mr. Moore. That was substantiated through a wealth of evidence and also interviews with the victim and other people surrounding that case. So ultimately, our detectives reached out to Mr. Moore, gave him an opportunity to come forward, and made him aware of the allegations. He chose not to do that. So ultimately, we reached out to some resources in Nebraska who assisted us in getting him into custody, which was extremely helpful. So we're very grateful to that agency for doing that. Ultimately, he was brought back to our location by the Warrants Division, who did a fantastic job. And a lot of people don't know about our Warrants Division, but they're responsible for traveling a multitude of states to bring back these violent perpetrators, and not just these types of cases, but could be anything ranging from homicide to burglary. And it's officers that take time away from their family to go and travel and do extended things because it's the right thing to do. Right. So they do a great job with that. Once he was brought here, there was a warrant signed for $1 million bond, which he is currently incarcerated on now. At this point, again, we don't feel like there are any other victims. This one is sort of an isolated case compared to the other we just spoke about, but he is certainly where we believe he needs to be.
Again, another child victim. These two cases are unrelated.
That's correct, unrelated.
So this is not something that there's not a trend or,
No. And look, and the important thing that we want to reach the public, anyone that follows our social media page, they see that we advertise or we publicize a lot of these types of calls and investigations. It's not that there's an uptick in crime these days, though I feel like there's some magnitudes where that could be the case. But we've always had this type of crime in our parish, and it's not just isolated to our parish, it's nationwide. But we are doing everything in our power to address this problem, and we will continue to do that because this is uncalled for in our area.
And if you are a victim or if you think your child is a victim, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can contact 985-876-2500. Obviously, they would want to speak to someone with the Special Victims Unit. And again, this unit
would stay anonymous.
Absolutely. And this unit is directed towards child victims as well as other sexual-related victims of any age.
All right. Blake, appreciate, man, your hard work. And appreciate the updates on these two events. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.